So as you're all probably well aware, the fine folks over at Mkii Multimedia pretty much turned the entire guitar amp tone modeling world on its head yesterday with the release of the incredible Tonex Pedal. I did a video about this yesterday. You can check out my official release video, and also I did another video where I was showing the new features of the Tonex software. But today I am going to show you how to unlock one of the most powerful features of the Tonex Pedal. The folks at Mkii Multimedia were really thinking it through when they decided to add Midi control to this pedal. This is going to allow us to do things beyond just the basic selecting a preset or turning it on and off, which it can do that. But I'm going to show you today how even with just one preset, you can unlock a lot of potential from your Tonex pedal. Now, the MIDI controller I'm using today is going to be the Morningstar MC6 Mark II. Morningstar are my absolute favorite company when it comes to MIDI controllers. I have the MC6 Mark II. I have the MC8. I have the MC8 tied up on one of my pedal boards right now, so I'm going to be using the smaller MC6. Whatever I show you today is going to apply whether you're using the MC3, MC6 Mark II, MC8. It doesn't matter, but I really cannot recommend the Morningstar MIDI controllers enough. They really make everything so simple. You're going to see with the desktop editor that I use today to illustrate all of this, just how simple it is. Now, I know some folks will probably contact me or leave me comments asking, well, how can I do this with my MIDI controller? The things I'm going to show you as far as the Tonex pedal today are all going to be the same regardless of what MIDI controller you use, but you are going to have to refer to the manual of your particular MIDI controller to see how you have to assign these things. It's far beyond the scope of this video to be able to talk about every single MIDI controller out there. There's just too many of them, and I don't necessarily know how to use them all. Everyone implements their way of working a little bit different, but I cannot recommend any higher the Morningstar MIDI controllers. Really great folks and really great products. Now, having said that, we need to, as I have here, set up the MIDI out from our MIDI controller to the MIDI input on the Tonex pedal. We also have to make sure they're talking to one another too. So we need to set the right MIDI channel. And here's how we do that. So you'll notice that I went into the global settings. I talked about how to do all of that in my video yesterday, so I will link to that below if you need to understand a little further how I got there. And I made sure that the Tonex pedal was on MIDI channel 1. And I'm also going to make my assignments on the Morningstar MC6 on MIDI channel 1. So now here we are over at the Morningstar editor. So this is a great editor. It's connected here to, I'll actually disconnect it and I'll select a device to connect to. I'm connecting to my Morningstar MC6, and you'll see that it gives me a lot of possibilities here. So I'm on bank number 30. Now, the first thing I'm going to start with is we're going to show you how you can set up the MIDI controller to change from preset to preset. Now, in the manual for Tonex Pedal, there is going to be a list under the MIDI section of all of the control and program change numbers that you can use to accomplish this. But that is in your manual, so you will have to go look at that as a cross-reference to be able to assign things properly. But let's do this. Let's create our short name here and call this preset 1. We always have to hit save on this to make sure everything's working. Now, what I want to do is when I press a button, I want to trigger a program change. So what's going to happen on Tonex Pedal is preset 00 or bank 00A. We have 50 banks with 3 presets each. So preset 00A would be our first preset on the unit. 00B would be our second one, and so on and so forth. 01A would be our second bank and the first preset. So starting from preset 00A, the MIDI program number for that is going to be 0, or the PC number. So I've set it for a program change. You'll notice I'm on MIDI channel 1. So this should work perfectly. I'm going to set this to PC number 0. And I'm just going to have it recall the first preset on the unit. Now, if I hit save preset, that should be working now. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this message, and you're going to see why. I'm going to go to preset B, and I'm going to call this preset 2, and I'm going to paste that same message in here, but what I'm going to do is change the program number to 1 and hit save. I will move to my next preset here. I'm going to paste that again. This time I'm going to change the PC number to 2, and we'll call this preset 3, and we will save that. Now, what I've done is I've programmed the Morningstar Effects MC6 Mark II to send the appropriate messages to change between the first 3 presets on Tonex Pedal. Let's go over to our pedals and see if they worked. And you can see as I'm pressing that, they worked absolutely flawlessly, absolutely perfect. Now, I don't have to have this just go in order. I could have this jump all the way up to number 127. If we save that now, that's going to be on preset 3. And you'll notice it'll jump to wherever we tell it to. Now, another great feature we have here is the ability to turn a preset on and off, and that's going to be done with a control change message. So let's just say we're going to call this on/off as our name. We hit save preset, and we're going to now say that when we press, we want a control change to send. Now, the control change number for that from the manual is number 12. So we're going to scroll down here and go to number 12. Now, the thing about this is the CC value of 0 is off and the CC value of 127 is on. So what we're going to do is turn toggle mode on and off. And what that's going to do is allow us to press the same button and toggle between 2 settings. I want this position to be position 1, and I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to copy this message, paste it right down here, and I'm going to change the CC value to 127, which would represent the on position. I'm going to ask this to be in position 2. Now what you'll notice is when I save this preset, which is called on off, and I press that, you will notice that the preset turns on and off. And once again, it works flawlessly. Now I'm just going to clear that preset out so we can move on to the next step. Now the next step is where I think we're going to find things the most powerful. Let's say that we have a preset that we want to use at different gain levels. Now obviously we could just set up different presets and choose the different gain levels as different presets, and that would be perfectly fine and acceptable. We could do that just how we did with the Midi controller and choose between different presets. But what if we wanted to just say go from a lower gain setting to a higher gain setting in the same preset? Well, what we can do is label this little preset gain, and then we're going to again use a press action and a control change message. We're still on Midi channel 1. The gain parameter is going to be controlled by CC number 102, and I'm getting these right from the manual. Now, the value here at 0 means that the gain would be turned off. Now, if I go to 127, it's going to go up to 10. Everywhere in between that is going to represent a value somewhere between it, with probably somewhere around 63 or so being the halfway point. So let's do this. Let's say we start with it on 63, and I'm going to save that. And I'm going to put toggle mode on so that we can hit this button and toggle between 2 states. I want this to be state number 1 or position number 1. I'm going to copy this and paste it down here. I'm going to change this to position 2, and we're going to crank this up to 127. So by saving this now, by pressing that button, we should see the gain change from about 5 up to 10. And let me just save that again, and we'll go over to our unit now and see if that actually worked. Sure enough, seamlessly works. Everything is great. Now, you might ask, well, what else can we control? Well, the list of parameters is absolutely ridiculous. Basically, we can control pretty much anything we could dream of. And again, you're going to have to refer to the manual to find out exactly what the numbers are. There's too many to remember offhand, but I'm going to show you a really cool thing that we can do after we're done talking about this in the Morningstar MIDI editor. But let's say we wanted to turn our reverb on and off. We find out that that's on control change number 75. So I could just simply come here, and instead of having that control the gain, I'm going to have it control the on-off state of our reverb. We'll set this at 0, and we'll set this at 127. If we hit save now, it's going to send the control change 75, which should turn that reverb on and off. And again, it does so flawlessly. We really can do just about anything here. What if we want to change the reverb type? That would be on control change number 85. And I can set these to kind of random things. These are going to be a little bit more trial and error because you got to figure out which value represents which model. But let's check this out and see what this does for us. I know the unit still says gain, but I could come up here and just type in reverb instead, and then the Morningstar will update to that. So now I'm able to change, I believe it was from a room reverb to a spring reverb. So we can pretty much control whatever we want by assigning the proper control change message to the Tonex pedal. Now, the interesting thing about that is I don't just have to do that. I could come back to here and say, let's go back to controlling the gain. So I'll set both of those to 102 again, and we'll do the same thing we did where we have the gain jump as such. Now we can also do this and copy the message, paste it into both of these, and then let's say that we wanted to turn the reverb on at the same time as one of our other actions. So we're going to use a control change on number 75 because that is what is going to control our reverb going on and off. So we need to put both of these on 75. This one is going to be position 1, and this one's going to be position 2, and we're going to have a value of 0 here. Now, what this should do is when I change to my higher gain setting, it should turn the reverb on as well. So we can see it as turning the reverb on and off, but what about that gain? You can see that it is controlling the gain as well. So we could set up multiple parameters to be controlled with one foot switch, much like other guitar amp modelers would call snapshots or scenes. Very powerful stuff. Now, what's really great about this is if you have the Morningstar MIDI controller and you want to go to the MIDI dictionary, you can actually select devices here, and it will give you all of the MIDI control change numbers and whatnot for various items. Now, obviously, Tonex Pedal is too new. They do have an IK Multimedia Uno synth, but we can actually create a user library. Now, this is crazy. If I come in here and I say, you know, I'm going to use that reverb, which is going to be CC number 75, and I'm going to use that a lot, and I can call this reverb off on channel 1 with CC value of 0. I could then add another and say I want the CC number of 75, but this time I want to be able to turn that reverb off, and we can call that reverb off, and we will add that. We now have this in our user library. So if we come back to edit our preset and we want to use one of these actions, I could come down here and say press, and we're going to send a control change, and then I'm going to open user library. I'm going to hit copy there, and this is going to populate with whatever message I want. Now, the other thing is if I've already created one up here, such as controlling the gain, I can also just say add this to my user library and say gain level, add that, and when we go to our user library, we'll see that that's added. So as you're working through this, we could actually go into our manual, go through all of the control change and program changes and add them to your user library. So that'll make our programming very easy in the future. All right, what do you folks think? I hope I was clear on my explanation there. Now you can see how powerful the Morningstar MC6 Mark II is. in conjunction with the editor. Other MIDI controllers are going to potentially be much more limited, but I think you can see that this is a real match made in heaven, and we could have a very powerful system once we learn some very basic assignments to be able to control the parameters in Tonex Pedal. I hope that that was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I will do my best to answer them. Sometimes I have a hard time getting to all of them, but I hope that that was a bit of an eye-opener, at least, to what we can do with Tonex Pedal. Thank you guys so much for sharing your time with me. Please like the video, share it with anybody who you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. Also, please subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.